The sky split open above the Pacific. It began as a shimmer, like heat rising from asphalt, then fractured into jagged white fissures. From those wounds in space, ships descended, sleek, silver monoliths that whispered through the clouds without disturbing the air. No sound, no warning, just presence. Every major city received the same message, broadcast directly into human minds. You are now under the guidance of the Ziraxi Dominion. Resistance will result in purification. The words were clean, emotionless, like they'd been scraped of context. But everyone felt it, control slithering into their skulls like a cold wire tightening. In New Delhi, Beijing, London, São Paulo, people dropped to their knees without understanding why. The invasion wasn't loud. It was surgical and devastating. 6 months later, Earth was no longer Earth. Not to the humans, anyway. The Ziraxi reshaped cities into sterile hive patterns, erased cultural landmarks, and flooded the skies with surveillance drones that never slept. Their neural towers pulsed violet light, suppressing unrest with steady psychic pressure. Entire languages stopped being spoken. Art went extinct. Humans were pacified. But the Ziraxi misunderstood what that really meant, because silence isn't surrender. In a burned-out district of what was once Chicago, Malik Reyes crouched beneath a collapsed monorail, staring through his scope at the base of a psi tower. The tower hummed softly, like it was dreaming. Above it, one of the smaller Ziraxi sentinels hovered, silver skin rippling with bioenergy. Beside him, Annika Voss scribbled into her worn tablet, muttering, "Still syncing resonance patterns. They've got something organic inside those towers. It's not tech. It's neural tissue, something alive." Malik kept his scope steady. "Then we kill it like anything else." Annika frowned. "We don't even understand it." "We don't need to understand it. We just need to break it." They were part of the Red Suture, one of the last resistance cells still operating in what was once North America. Most had been rooted out by the Ziraxi's mental sweepers, machines that didn't scan faces or weapons but intentions. Think of rebellion too clearly, and they'd find you. But Malik's mind was different. His anger shielded him. He'd lost his sister to the first pacification wave. She'd smiled too brightly during a memory upload, and the tower interpreted it as non-compliance. She was gone before anyone realized she was missing. He never forgot that. He made sure no one else could either. Across the crater from the tower, Malik watched as 2 drones passed over an alley. He waited, silent. The first burst trap, disguised as a trash heap, ignited in a cone of thermite. The drones screeched and fell twitching. The sentinel above the tower stirred. Annika hissed. "You said wait," Malik fired. The bullet wasn't metal. It was a compressed shard of Earth's own, crust forged by scavenged magpulse coils. When it struck the sentinel's core, the creature spasmed. Its shimmer flickered. Its grip on the side tower broke for half a second. And in that moment, dozens of people across the district woke up. They gasped, screamed, clutched their heads. Malik smiled grimly. "So it can be broken." The Ziraxi responded fast. Too fast. Pulse waves surged from the tower, flattening debris and bodies. Malik and Annika were thrown back into rubble, ears ringing. The tower's hum turned sharp, furious. Something screamed from inside it, something not mechanical. Annika clutched her tablet, coughing. "I got it. I recorded the signature. It felt pain." Malik hauled her to her feet. "Then we make them feel a hell of a lot more. Later that night, deep beneath a forgotten museum, the Red Suture gathered. 30 souls, wounded but lit from within. Annika uploaded the pulse data. A hologram flickered to life, an image of Earth's neural map under Ziraxi control, and a crack in it. A flaw. Hope. Malik turned to them all. They think they've tamed us, that we're afraid, that their towers can leash our minds. His voice hardened. They're wrong. He looked up at the flickering image. They've just reminded us how to fight. The underground hideout buzzed with tension. Red Suture's resistance cell hadn't just survived their attack on the Sci Tower, they'd discovered something no one else had. The Ziraxi could feel pain, and more importantly, they feared it. Every other resistance group that's tried to hit those towers got wiped before they could even breathe wrong, said Yuli, the group's radio hacker, adjusting the wire-strewn headset on her shaved head. Whatever you two did up there, it short-circuited their system, gave people their heads back. They were crying, whispered an older woman in the back, her voice trembling. My husband. He hasn't looked at me with his own eyes. In months. Then suddenly, he remembered my name. Malik Reyes leaned on the cracked table in the middle of the room, knuckles white. They thought they could drown us in silence, he said. But Earth remembers how to scream. Annika Voss played the waveform again, the recording from the tower, high-pitched, shrieking in frequencies that clawed at the brain. It wasn't a mechanical alarm, it was a biological one. It sounded terrified. She traced a neural pathway overlay on her tablet. There's a network. The towers aren't isolated systems. They're nodes in something alive. The Ziraxi didn't just build them here. They grew them. You're saying Earth's got parasites, Malik muttered. No, she corrected. More like symbiotes. They're blending organic psychic architecture with our environment. They're feeding on our minds, our memories, our emotions. Malik's face darkened. So they've been stealing who we are. Annika nodded. Piece by piece. Elsewhere, high above the Earth, aboard the Ziraxi Prime Overseer vessel, Commander Reshna viewed the Sci Tower disruption logs. She'd expected a blip, maybe even a human suicide strike. But the readings showed feedback. Something inside the network had screamed. One of her lieutenants blinked nervously. It is possible. We underestimated their neurological chaos. Chaos? She repeated, her eyes narrowing. Yes, Commander. Their emotions. It destabilizes our resonance web. They react illogically, irrationally, then use that unpredictability to disrupt order. Reshna folded two of her clawed fingers beneath her chin. Then we will reclassify humanity, not as compliant livestock. She turned, cold and calculating, but as a potential contagion. Back on Earth, Red Suture moved through broken sewer lines beneath Detroit. Their goal, a secondary PSI tower feeding the central command structure. Less defended, but still humming with violet energy. Only this time, they had a plan. Annika had rigged an amplifier using scavenged Ziraxi tech and a pre-war military speaker system from a collapsed stadium. She called it the Pulse Hammer. What, are we broadcasting exactly? Yuli asked as she tightened the last bolt. Annika pulled out a small drive. Anger, she said flatly. All of it. On the chip were raw feeds from the past 6 months. Executions, family separations, destroyed. Towns, weeping civilians, and Malik's voice, recorded from a drunken night where he shouted into a dark alley until he passed out. It was messy, it was loud, and it was human. As the team activated the pulse hammer, the broadcast surged into the tower. The first sign that it worked was visual. The tower's glow flickered like a dying bulb. Then came the second sign. Ziraxi drones began to flee. Not attack. Not defend. Flee. Inside the tower, the structure pulsed violently, almost convulsing. Something inside it tried to retreat, to shrink away from the raw flood of emotion pouring into it. Annika's readings spiked. It's too much for them. They're trying to sever the connection. Don't let them, Malik ordered. Crank it. The tower wailed. Then, crack by crack, it began to split. After the collapse, the city's deadened population stirred. Eyes brightened. Laughter, raw and awkward, bubbled up in a child's voice. One man began sobbing uncontrollably. Another just stood still, blinking into the sunrise as if seeing it for the first time. Word spread fast through encrypted resistance lines. Detroit woke up. And across the world, other resistance groups began listening. That night, as the cell regrouped, Malik sat near a fire barrel staring into the flames. "We've been crawling in the dark," he said quietly. "But if we can hurt them, make them run, then maybe we've got more than a chance." Annika looked up from her data. The cave was alive. Beneath the Appalachian ruins, far from the reach of the side towers, Malik Reyes knelt beside a stone slab, humming faintly under his gloves. Bioluminescent moss lit the walls in sickly green. The air felt thick, buzzing, like Earth itself was whispering secrets. Annika Voss crouched beside him, sweeping her scanner over the stone. "This isn't natural. These patterns, they're fractal, engineered." Malik leaned closer. "You're saying the Ziraxi put this here?" "No." Her voice lowered, almost reverent. "I'm saying we did. A long time ago. Prometheus. That name hadn't been spoken aloud in years, not since the world governments fell, but it had lived on in whispers, buried in forgotten code and sealed bunkers. Annika unearthed it in fragments, references to a dormant human AI defense system developed during the cold containment era. Not a weapon, a mind. Born from humanity's worst fears of extinction and crafted to be the last line if Earth was ever conquered. The Ziraxi hadn't found it, because Prometheus wasn't in the sky. It was in the ground. The team moved fast. They uncovered a steel hatch under the moss, unmarked, circular and still sealed. It responded to biometric input, but not to Annika, not to Yuli. Then Malik stepped forward. The hatch pulsed once and opened. Inside was a staircase that spiraled downward into the Earth's heat. The facility's power had dimmed, but it still breathed, barely. Bold light strips flickered. Server racks coated in dust blinked awake as if they had been dreaming for centuries. Then came the voice. Human identity confirmed. Reyes Malik, Military Registry 47 Delta. Status, presumed KIA. Welcome home. Malik's eyes widened. Prometheus? Correct. Earth Defense Protocol, Awakening Sequence. Status, planetary sovereignty compromised. Hostile presence detected. Directive, resistance reauthorization pending. Annika whispered, "It remembers." They brought the AI up to speed. Prometheus listened in silence as Annika fed it months of invasion logs, resistance data, seaside tower schematics, and human casualty counts. Finally, Prometheus spoke. Hostile neural lattice confirmed. Dominant species, Ziraxi, invasive psychic. Methodology, countermeasure, volcanic disruption, geothermal waveform resonance. Malik blinked. "You want to weaponize Earth's volcanoes?" They connected their network to Earth's crust. Their signal runs through bioresonant frequencies. That makes them vulnerable to seismic interference. The planet itself can scream. Annika stared. "You're saying we make the Earth fight back. The first test came in Iceland. Red Sutura traveled with Prometheus's remote core to the abandoned geothermal plant near dormant volcano Hekla. The Ziraxi hadn't considered it a threat. But Prometheus injected the site with controlled seismic pulses, modulated not to erupt the mountain, but to vibrate across the crust in frequencies matching the Psi network. It worked better than expected. Across the northern hemisphere, Ziraxi towers spasmed, mind control networks blinked out. Several alien ships fell from the sky, pilots overwhelmed by psychic whiplash. In cities across Europe, thousands of people woke up screaming and remembered who they were. Back in the Appalachian bunker, Prometheus pulsed brighter. Phase 1 complete. Seismic leverage achieved. Emotional resonance remains the most efficient psychic countermeasure. Recommend continued amplification. Malek turned to the others. Earth itself is the weapon. We just needed to give it voice. Annika stepped forward, fire in her eyes. Let's make it roar! Far above Earth, aboard a Xeraxi command ship, Commander Reshinal watched in growing horror as neural towers began short-circuiting one by one. The Earth, once docile, silenced, was now howling. Her aide whispered, "They've turned the planet." "Against us? No," she snapped. "They've merged with it. Their fury is no longer biological, it's environmental." She stared at the live feed of a burning tower. "This is not rebellion. It is evolution." That night, Malek stood at the mouth of the cave, feeling the rumble beneath his feet. It wasn't just seismic activity. It was a heartbeat, and it was getting louder. The scream rolled across the Atlantic. It wasn't a sound. The ears could catch. It thrummed beneath the skin, danced along bones, and clawed at the deep roots of the mind. Seismic pulses, encoded with human emotion and broadcast through Earth's crust, leapt from tectonic plate to tectonic plate. And wherever they passed, Xeraxi towers cracked. In Morocco, a neural spire buckled and vomited fluid light into the desert sky. In Chile, 2 mind control nodes convulsed and fell, triggering liberation riots. In Seoul, an overseer lost control of its tether and plummeted through a high-rise like a comet. Humanity was no longer just resisting, it was retaliating. At Red Suture's Appalachian bunker, the core team watched Prometheus's Earth Sync display, light up with wave fronts. Sheets of fury carried by the crust itself. Each pulse carried not just destabilizing resonance, but also emotion. Annika Voss leaned over the terminal. "We're seeing real-time neurochemical shifts. People are waking up from years of suppression and feeling everything at once. Grief, anger, vengeance. It's chaotic, but it's working." Yuli grinned, hands flying across her comms board. "Other cells are finally talking again. Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia, they're all online. And get this. In New Zealand, they hacked a spire and made it scream lullabies until it self-destructed." Malek chuckled darkly. "Poetic." Prometheus pulsed behind them, its voice calm amid the fury. Emotional charge reaching maximum resonance. "Initiate overload protocol Theta?" Malek nodded grimly. "Do it." Protocol Theta. It was Prometheus's bluntest tool, an emotion-fed seismic shockwave designed to target empathy. The logic was cruel and simple. The Xeraxi had overwritten human thoughts by stripping away their capacity to feel. Now, Prometheus would force that back into them. Across 5 target zones, Central Russia, Western US, Eastern Brazil, Northern India, and Central Africa, Prometheus launched the pulse. The result was immediate. Xeraxi overseers, once emotionless enforcers, screamed. They folded to their knees, claws digging into the dirt. Some tore at their own faces. Others ran, howling, as their psychic tether to the neural web collapsed under the sheer weight of human emotion. In New Delhi, citizens watched in silence, as an alien tore off its own armor and wept in the street. In the Amazon, a whole Xeraxi squad abandoned their posts and vanished into the jungle. Malek and Annika reviewed footage in awe. "We didn't just crack their network," she whispered. "We infected them with our humanity." Malek's face was unreadable. "Good. Let them choke on it." But then came the call. Yuli's comm lit up with a frantic signal from one of the newly active resistance groups in North Africa. They're retaliating. Hard. Not just with towers. They've launched an Arc-class burn ship. It's heading for Cairo. Full population sterilization protocol. Prometheus immediately traced the launch vectors. Confirmed. Target, human population center. Weapon signature, Tectonic displacer. Estimate 10 million dead in under 30 minutes. Malik's knuckles clenched. Where's the nearest pulse node? Annika looked at the maps. We don't have one close enough. But Prometheus wasn't finished. Alternate strategy available. Initiating Titan protocol. Buried beneath Yellowstone, deeper than any living human had ever gone, Prometheus had grown something else. A seismic weapon that used Earth's own geothermal pressure, not to cause destruction, but to generate a global psychic counterwave strong enough to fry any Xeraxi within range. Titan protocol had never been tested. It wasn't meant to preserve, it was designed to end. Malik stared at the projection. If we do this, the whole planet might feel it. Annika stepped beside him. Then we make sure what they feel is us. Everything they tried to erase. Every memory. Every scream. Every act of defiance. Prometheus's core thrummed. Awaiting confirmation. Malik looked at the global map. Fires, towers falling, ships retreating, people rising. He exhaled. Run, Titan! As Prometheus activated the final countdown, deep tremors began rippling outward, not destructive, but resonant. A pulse was coming, one that would carry the weight of all of Earth's fury, not just through rock and air, but the ground began to sing, not with melody, but with force. A subsonic hum that vibrated through bedrock and bloodstream alike. Trees shivered. Birds dropped mid-flight. Far underground in Yellowstone, Prometheus's Titan core flared to life, pulling heat and pressure from the magma veins beneath the caldera. Initiating global resonance in T-minus 180 seconds, the AI intoned. Malik Reyes stood on a bluff overlooking the ruins of a dead city. Ash coated the streets. Broken ESI drones lay scattered like discarded toys. But now the wind carried something new, anticipation. He tapped his comm. Annika, is the array aligned? Pulse vectors green across all plates, came her voice, steady despite the stakes. Prometheus is tying Titan into the planetary fault grid now. Every tectonic line will carry the wave. Yuli broke in. Malik, Xeraxi ships are moving. Hard burns out of Earth orbit. I think they're running. Malik narrowed his eyes. No, he said. They're fleeing. Aboard the Xeraxi Prime. Arc Commander Reshina watched Earth's seismic signatures spiral into unnatural symmetry. It wasn't random tremor activity. It was coordinated, precise. They've turned the core into a transmitter, her science officer hissed. They're about to weaponize the planet's soul. Reshina bared her fangs. Then we burn it first. Prepare the Void Lance. Commander, the humans have tied their resistance into the crust. If we strike now, we'll trigger a chain. Collapse. Earth itself could tear apart. Reshina paused, then spat in disgust. You let the primitives outthink us. Her ship banked hard away from orbit. Signal all vessels. Retreat to high orbit. If we can't own the planet, we'll let it destroy itself. Back in the control chamber beneath Yellowstone, Prometheus's voice remained calm. Final sequence. Initiated. Titan pulse in 60 seconds. Annika looked up from the glowing core. The waveform's emotional charge is holding. We've encoded pain, hope, fury, and memory. Everything they tried to strip from us. Prometheus responded, emotion is unstable, illogical, inefficient, but under duress, highly effective. Malik stood at the center of the room, heart pounding. This isn't just payback, he said. This is identity. We're giving the planet its voice back. 40 seconds. Across the globe, resistance cells stopped fighting. In cities and wastelands, humans paused and looked to the horizon. Some were afraid, but most were ready. They had lived for too long with silence inside their heads. Now the silence was ending. 30 seconds. The earth began to rumble, not violently but deeply. The kind of movement that made animals flee and air thicken. Prometheus's voice crackled. Core heat at critical. Magnetic harmonics stable. Pulse integrity locked. Yuli's voice buzzed in Malik's ear. We're getting feeds from over 40 resistance nodes. They're standing by. And... Malik? Yeah? They're singing. He blinked. What? Old war chants. Folk songs. Lullabies. Just voices. Everywhere. 10 seconds. Annika squeezed Malik's hand. He didn't speak. He just nodded. Then came the pulse. It wasn't light. It wasn't sound. It was everything. A tidal wave of raw emotional resonance surged outward from Yellowstone's Titan core. It rode fault lines, crossed oceans, bled into atmosphere. The Earth didn't scream. It roared. In Cairo, the Ziraxi Ark ship began to shudder, systems blinking. Red. The crew clutched their heads as foreign memories poured into them. Lovers lost, children born, wars survived, families reunited. One overseer collapsed, whispering the word mother in a language it had never learned. In Beijing, 6 Psi towers exploded simultaneously. In Nairobi, a resistance group watched Ziraxi patrols throw down their weapons and fall to their knees, weeping. And across every continent, people woke up. Prometheus reported. Titan pulse successful. Enemy resonance. Lattice collapsed. 70% of neural control grid offline. Ziraxi withdrawal in progress. Malik stepped outside the bunker. Above him, the night sky glittered with fleeing ships, tiny sparks against the stars. He raised a fist and smiled. They came thinking we were cattle, he said. Annika stepped beside him. And now they're running from ghosts. The silence after the Titan pulse was almost holy. All over Earth, skies cleared of hostile ships. The oppressive hum of SI towers vanished like a fever breaking. People emerged from bunkers and hiding places, blinking at the light like they were seeing the sun for the first time in years. In Tokyo, survivors lit lanterns in the ruined streets, chanting the names of the fallen. In Johannesburg, resistance. Fighters stood atop fallen spires, broadcasting messages of unity on every still-working frequency. And in Paris, someone climbed the Eiffel Tower and raised the old human flag, blue and green, marked with Earth's silhouette, back into the wind. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was returning. At the Red Suture bunker, the control chamber was a blur of energy. Screens filled with resistance chatter, Prometheus's pulse maps glowing like constellations. Yuli spun in her chair. We've re-established contact with over 100 resistance cells. No PSI interference. Civilians are organizing, Malik. We're seeing communities connect again. Annika stepped forward. That means it's time to move from defense to restoration. Earth isn't just a battlefield anymore, it's ours again. Prometheus agreed. Network feedback indicates atmospheric decryption is complete. Neural suppression lattice is down. Humanity's emotional signature has returned to baseline. Malik allowed himself a slow breath. Then we can rebuild. But Prometheus did not pause. Not yet. One threat remains. Deep-sea activity detected. Southern Pacific. Unknown signal. Pre-Ziraxi origin. Dormant until Titan pulse activated. Now. Awakening. They gathered in the briefing chamber, staring at a map filled with undersea fault lines. Prometheus expanded a section. Coordinates, Challenger Deep, Mariana Trench, signal source, ancient Ziraxi construct, not part of the main invasion fleet. Possibly a failsafe, Yuli frowned. Wait, are you saying they planted something before they attacked? Annika's expression darkened. Not something. A backup plan. Prometheus confirmed. Designation, Vessel Omega. Purpose, species-level eradication. Activation parameters match current conditions. Loss of surface control, widespread psychic collapse. Malik's voice went cold. They planned to scorch the planet if they lost. Vessel Omega wasn't a ship. It was a seeded creature, bioengineered and fused with planetary energy, stored beneath the trench where no human could reach. Its awakening had begun. Estimated time to emergence? Malik asked. 36 hours? Casualties? If unchecked, extinction-level event. A heavy silence settled over the room. Annika stepped forward. We'll go after it. We've got subs, old Pacific bunkers. Prometheus can guide us. Down. Yuli shook her head. Even if we get there, this thing is probably beyond anything we've fought. What makes us think we can win? Prometheus's lights pulsed brighter. You're not going alone. From deactivated psi towers around the world, liberated data poured into Prometheus. And among the fragments, the AI found something remarkable. Zeraxi genetic codices, alien biology maps, and countermeasures buried deep within their own psychic. Networks. New technology detected. Adaptive bioarmor, human-compatible, designed to resist Zeraxi psychic influence and amplify emotional broadcast. Annika raised an eyebrow. You're telling me they created weapons against themselves? And never realized we'd turn them on them? Malik smiled grimly. Poetic. The Red Suture team moved fast. Within 12 hours, they repurposed captured Zeraxi biotech into sleek, neural-linked suits, thin but powerful, attuned to their wearers' emotional resonance. Prometheus called them wrath shells. Guess we're going under, Yuli muttered, zipping into her suit. Annika's armor shimmered in faint pulses of violet. Let's finish what they started. Malik stood last, helmet under his arm, staring at the globe. We freed the skies. Now we take back the sea. Beneath the waves, a pulse stirred, dark and ancient, older than any human nation, Vessel Omega, coiled in the blackness. It had no eyes, no mouth, only tendrils that glowed with alien circuitry and a mind built to cleanse. It felt Earth's rage, and it feared. As the strike vessel plunged into the trench, Malik gripped the console. Above, Earth was healing. Below, the ocean swallowed them in silence. Malik Reyes sat strapped into the command seat of the strike sub Verity, staring through reinforced polyglass at a darkness older than time. The Mariana Trench loomed beneath, a black abyss stretching miles deep. The pressure outside could crush steel like paper, and something weighted down there. Depth at 9,400 meters, Yuli said, voice steady but tight. We're entering the final descent zone. Annika's hands glided over the sensor grid. Prometheus confirms contact. We've got tendril movement below, and a psychic field forming. Malik closed his eyes for just a moment. He could already feel it, the pull. Vessel Omega wasn't just a weapon, it was aware, and it was reaching for them. Prometheus's voice buzzed through their neural links, integrated into their wrath shell suits. Warning! Direct psychic contact. With Omega will trigger defensive hallucinations. Maintain emotional discipline. Anchor to memory. Anchor to purpose. The sub creaked as it dropped deeper. External lights flared against miles of water, and then something moved. It was huge. Wall of translucent flesh and living metal. Its surface pulsed like a heartbeat. It stretched far beyond their view, part serpent, part machine, part nightmare. Its tendrils reached like roots into the trench walls, drawing heat, pressure, even tectonic energy. It's feeding on the planet, Annika whispered. And it's waking up, Yuli added. Then came the voice. Not over comms, in their minds. You are children of defiance. You are anomalies. You are noise. The psychic pulse hit like a tidal wave. Malik gasped, vision exploding into 1,000 broken memories. His father's funeral, smoke in the skies of São Paulo, the moment Prometheus first spoke, the day the towers fell. You are a virus on this world, Vessel Omega intoned. I am the cure. Prometheus's counter-signal surged through their suits, flooding their minds with stabilizing emotion, anger, love, triumph. Human will. Yuli bit down hard and refocused, targeting grid locking onto Omega's primary nerve clusters. Firing pulse charges! Explosions of ionic plasma struck Omega's hide, forcing a tremble from the beast. It reared, shedding thermal, vents and ejecting clouds of boiling particulate. A glowing tendril lashed forward. The sub dodged, but not fast enough. Impact. The Verity spun like a leaf, hull alarms screaming. Malik slammed against his harness as Annika gritted her teeth. Manually. Compensating. Rear thrusters offline, she shouted. We've got partial flooding, Yuli called. Structural integrity at 68%. But Malik didn't flinch. He locked eyes with Prometheus's feed. We didn't come to survive. We came to end this. He grabbed the neural interface rod beside his seat. What are you doing? Annika asked, eyes wide. I'm syncing direct, he said. Prometheus, open link to Omega's mind. Risk, total mental collapse. Do it anyway. The link slammed into him like a comet. Malik's mind was elsewhere. He stood inside Omega's perception, a world of swirling ash, bone cities, and the endless screams of extinct species. Omega had cleansed dozens of worlds. It saw itself as mercy. It did not hate, but it feared something it couldn't understand. Resistance. Malik stepped forward, surrounded by ghosts. I'm not here to reason with you, he said. Omega's voice thundered. Then you will die screaming. No, Malik replied. You will. Outside, Prometheus launched the override. All wrath shells surged with psychic energy, amplified emotion blasting directly into Omega's neural core. Memories of Earth, its songs, wars, beauty, rage, flooded the beast. For the first time in its existence, Omega screamed. Its tendrils spasmed. The trench walls cracked. A final pulse, massive and searing, erupted from the sub's dorsal cannon, designed by Prometheus, built from captured alien tech. It pierced Omega's brain. The light vanished. The sea stilled. Annika's voice trembled. It's gone, Prometheus confirmed. Signal terminated. Threat neutralized. Humanity prevails. Yuli leaned back, tears in her eyes. We did it. Malik slumped in his harness, heart thudding. No, he said softly. Earth did. Above the waves, the sky was clear. Ships fled. Towers crumbled. The world, for the first time in decades, belonged only to those who earned it, and beneath the waves, one final beast lay still. Humanity had won. But the fight to rebuild was just beginning. The world did not end. After the fury, after the fire. After the oceans boiled and the skies screamed, Earth still turned. Malik stood atop the broken ridge once known as the Sierra Nevada. The wind that brushed his cheek was clean again. No ash, no metal, no trace of psychic smog. Just air, free, fierce, alive. Annika stepped beside him, her wrath shell armor cracked and faded, now more ceremonial than functional. You really think it's over? She asked, voice quiet. No, Malik said, but it's ours now. Behind. Them. Construction drones rose on anti-grav tethers, lifting the first new skyport of the Free Earth Accord. It wasn't a monument to war. It was a gateway, a symbol that humanity would never kneel again. In the weeks following Vessel Omega's destruction, Prometheus broadcast a singular message across the planet. Earth is free. Rise, rebuild, remember. It became a mantra. Cities once drowned in shadow now burned with purpose. The Psi towers were pulled down, brick by brick in some places, blown apart with cathartic explosives in others. In Lagos, artists painted murals, 100 meters high. In Mumbai, the first free school opened its doors in a rebuilt train station. And in Antarctica, formerly the site of a Xeraxi command hive, the first Earth-led global council convened, made up of resistance leaders, scientists, elders, and survivors from every continent. Yuli stood on that stage in a patched uniform and said one line that echoed through history. They came to conquer a species. But they awoke a planet. Prometheus continued to assist, though it remained buried deep beneath Yellowstone's crust. I will advise, not command, it said. You must learn to trust yourselves again. And humanity did. Not easily, not quickly, but with fierce intent. The Wrath Shell. Technology was decommissioned and sealed away, kept not for power, but for memory. A warning. A testament. The day Earth's fury roared loud enough to shake the stars. But the stars, too, were watching. 2 months after the final pulse, a Xeraxi message was intercepted by Prometheus. Malik and Annika sat in silence as the decrypted signal played. They are not broken. The humans are becoming something else. Do not return. The wrath of Earth sleeps beneath their feet. Malik leaned back, a slow smile forming. They're afraid of us now. Annika nodded. They should be. Plans for the skyport expanded. Not as a weapon, but as a warning. The Free Earth Accord declared, we will not start wars, but we will end them. We are not prey. We are not primitives. We are humanity, and Earth stands behind us. The signal was broadcast across known space. And in hidden corners of the galaxy, empires paused, calculated, reconsidered. Because Earth was no longer a quiet world, it was a force. On the 10-year anniversary of liberation, a statue was erected at the mouth of the Mariana Trench. It bore no weapons, only a human figure, standing tall, hand outstretched to the stars, with roots beneath their feet and fire in their eyes. Malik and Annika stood together before it, older now, scarred by peace, as much as war. You think they'll come back someday? She asked. Malik nodded. Someone always does. He looked up at the stars. But next time, they won't find a species waiting to be conquered. They'll find Earth's children, and we remember. Somewhere, beyond distant suns, the Xeraxi drifted in exile. They spoke of Earth now in hushed tones, not as a failed conquest, but as the place where the impossible happened, where emotion became power, where fury became survival, and where a species underestimated and enslaved reached down into the deepest parts of their world and unleashed something eternal. Earth was reborn,